Hey explorers, welcome back to another journey into the forgotten corners of our world. Today we're diving into some of the most hauntingly beautiful abandoned places that are still standing in 2024. Grab your flashlights and make sure to hit that subscribe button because we're about to explore some seriously incredible locations. Let's kick things off with an automotive icon that's been slowly crumbling for decades. The Packard Plant in Detroit isn't just any abandoned factory, it's a 3.5 million square foot testament to America's industrial heritage. In 2024, most of the plant remains in a state of beautiful decay, with nature slowly reclaiming its massive halls. Walking through these corridors today, you can still see the ghost of Detroit's golden age. The massive concrete columns stretch up into darkness, while broken windows create natural skylights that illuminate the graffiti-covered walls. Fun fact, this plant was actually designed by Albert Kahn, the same architect who designed many of Detroit's most iconic buildings. What makes this location particularly special in 2024 is that recent demolition plans have been put on hold, giving urban explorers a final chance to document this incredible piece of history. The plant's famous water tower still looms over the east side, a sentinel watching over decades of Detroit's history. Our next location takes us across the Pacific to what might be the world's most famous ghost island. Hashima Island, also known as Battleship Island, sits silently off the coast of Nagasaki. This former mining community once housed over 5,000 people in what was the most densely populated place on Earth. In 2024, the island stands as a stark reminder of Japan's rapid industrialization. The concrete apartment blocks are slowly being eaten away by the savage storms that pound the island. What's fascinating is how much of daily life remains frozen in time. You can still see old television sets in apartments, classroom chairs arranged in neat rows, and mining equipment left exactly where it was last used. The most striking change in recent years has been nature's increasing grip on the island. Entire rooms are now gardens of wild vegetation, with plants breaking through concrete and creating an eerily beautiful contrast between industrial decay and natural rebirth. Perhaps no abandoned place captures the imagination quite like the ghost city of Pripyat. Its amusement park, which never officially opened, stands as one of the most poignant symbols of the Chernobyl disaster. What makes this location particularly significant in 2024 is how it continues to weather both time and ongoing regional conflicts. The famous Ferris wheel, now an icon of abandonment, continues its silent vigil over the empty city. Recent studies have shown that radiation levels have decreased significantly in many areas, though hotspots still remain. The bumper cars, frozen in their final positions, are now surrounded by trees that have grown through the concrete. What's particularly fascinating is how the park has become a time capsule of Soviet design. The color schemes, the architectural choices, the propaganda artwork, it's all preserved here, though slowly fading with each passing year. Imagine opening your front door to find your living room filled with sand. That's exactly what you'll find in Kolmanskop, a former diamond mining town in the Namib desert. In 2024, this ghost town continues its slow descent into the sand, creating some of the most photogenic abandoned spaces on Earth. The German colonial architecture stands in stark contrast to the desert that's slowly consuming it. Rooms filled with knee-deep, sometimes ceiling high sand creates surreal landscapes that look like something out of a Salvador Dali painting. The way the light plays through broken windows onto the rippled sand dunes inside these buildings is simply magical. What's particularly interesting about Kolmanskop in 2024 is how the preservation efforts have changed. New walkways have been installed to allow visitors to explore previously inaccessible buildings while still maintaining the haunting beauty of this desert ghost town. Our next location takes us to what was once the most famous and expensive prison in the world. The Eastern State Penitentiary in Philadelphia stands as a crumbling cathedral to correction, its Gothic architecture deliberately designed to intimidate inmates into reform. In 2024, the prison's massive cell blocks continue to decay beautifully. The peeling paint creates natural artwork on the walls, while the long corridors seem to stretch endlessly into darkness. What's fascinating is how well-preserved many of the cells remain, with their original furnishings still intact. Recent preservation efforts have revealed new areas of the prison to visitors, including previously unexplored tunnels and guard towers. The medical wing, which was off limits for decades, now tells the story of primitive prison healthcare through its rusted equipment and deteriorating examination rooms. Next up on our journey is a place that seems frozen in the 1970s, the ghost city of Varosha in Cyprus. Once a bustling tourist destination where celebrities like Elizabeth Taylor vacationed, this entire district of Famagusta has stood empty since the Turkish invasion of 1974. What's particularly fascinating about Varosha in 2024 is that parts of it are slowly being reopened, though much remains untouched by time. The city's luxury hotels still line the beach like abandoned sentinels, their rooms still furnished with 1974 decor, car dealerships still house vintage vehicles covered in decades of dust. Perhaps most eerie are the department stores, where mannequins still wear 50-year-old fashions, frozen in a moment that time forgot. Recent developments have made this location even more intriguing. While some areas are being redeveloped, others remain perfectly preserved, creating a stark contrast between restoration and decay that tells a powerful story about divided Cyprus. Deep beneath a mountain in Crimea lies one of the most impressive abandoned military installations in the world. This former submarine base, known as Object 825 GTS, was built to withstand a direct nuclear strike and could house up to 7 submarines at once. Walking through these massive tunnels today is like stepping into a Cold War thriller. The facility includes over 15,000 square feet of tunnels and chambers, complete with dry docks, repair stations, and even a nuclear decontamination station. What's remarkable is how much of the original equipment remains, from massive crane systems to submarine parts. The base's location, carved directly into the mountain, has helped preserve it remarkably well. In 2024, you can still see the massive blast doors designed to protect against nuclear attacks, each weighing several tons and perfectly balanced to be moved by a single person. Moving to Southeast Asia, we find ourselves among the haunting ruins of Wat Mahathat in Ayutthaya, Thailand. While technically a historical site rather than an abandoned place, the way nature has reclaimed these ancient temples creates some of the most atmospheric abandoned spaces you'll ever see. The most famous image from this location is undoubtedly the Buddha head entwined in tree roots, but there's so much more to explore. Centuries-old Prang's reliquary towers rise from the jungle like ancient guardians, while headless Buddha statues stand in silent rows, their stories lost to time. What makes this location particularly interesting in 2024 is how climate change and increasing tourism are affecting these ancient structures. New preservation techniques are being implemented to protect these ruins from both natural and human impacts. Let's head back to Detroit for another architectural marvel, the Michigan Central Station. This 18-story Beaux-Arts masterpiece has been Detroit's most famous ruin for decades, but 2024 marks a fascinating turning point in its history. After years of abandonment, the building is undergoing a massive transformation, making this perhaps the last chance to see it in its beautifully decayed state. The grand waiting room, with its 54-foot vaulted ceilings, tells the story of American Railway's golden age. The marble floors, though cracked and worn, still hint at the building's former glory. The office tower above, with its countless empty rooms and corridors, creates an almost infinite maze of urban exploration opportunities. What's particularly interesting is how this building represents both decay and renewal. While some areas remain untouched, showing decades of abandonment, others are being carefully restored, creating a unique contrast that urban explorers won't find anywhere else. Deep in the Alaskan wilderness lies what might be America's best preserved ghost town. Kennecott was once a thriving copper mining community, but when the ore ran out in 1938, the town was abandoned almost overnight. What makes this location special in 2024 is its remarkable state of preservation thanks to the cold, dry Alaskan climate. The massive 14-story concentration mill still clings to the mountainside, its red paint fading but still visible against the stunning backdrop of the Rangel Mountains. Inside, you can find original machinery, tools, and even personal items left behind when the miners departed. The town's remote location has helped protect it from vandalism, making it a time capsule of early 20th century mining life. The wooden boardwalks still creak underfoot, and the company store still contains original stock from the 1930s. And there you have it, explorers, 10 of the most hauntingly beautiful abandoned places still standing in 2024. Each of these locations tells its own unique story of rise and fall, of human ambition, and the inevitable march of time. But they also remind us that even in abandonment, there's a strange kind of beauty that continues to captivate us. Before we wrap up, remember that if you plan to visit any of these locations, always explore safely and legally. Get proper permissions where required, never go alone, and always respect these historical sites. Take only pictures, leave only footprints. If you enjoyed this journey through these forgotten places, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe to join our community of urban explorers. Let me know in the comments which of these locations you'd like to see featured in a detailed exploration video, or share your own abandoned place discoveries. Until our next adventure into the forgotten corners of our world, this is Adventura signing off. Stay curious, stay safe, and keep exploring.